Okay, so today's not going to be a real hard workout, but what we want to do as black belts is really go over some things so you're getting more power, learning how to use your body better, and then we're going to go over a few techniques because now we're in the tactical cycle. So it's a whole different ball game, talking about self-defense, and I'm going to also go over some of the different targets and areas of your body that you would want to strike at, because it's different than what we would do if we were just doing a classroom type class where you don't kick below the belt and that type of thing. But for tactical, we want to know those different targets. The reason I want you guys to have your elbow pads on is when we're doing some elbows and that type of thing, you want to be able to do them hard, and if you got a pad on, since we don't have anything to hit, then that way you can come through and hit them nice and hard, because we also want to talk about learning how to get your body involved. So part of being a black belt is not just showing you techniques, but really being more specific on how to use them, where to use them, and how to generate the most power you can. And ideally, once you're a black belt, you've seen pretty much everything. Now it's showing you really how to use it, when to use it, and how to be most effective. Okay, so with that, let's go and get started here. I don't want this class to be more than 30 minutes max, so we want to move kind of fast, just because if we get it too long, then it's kind of hard to focus and that type of thing, being a virtual class. So go ahead and stand up there for me. All right, hopefully you have your belt on too. If you don't, if you can get it really fast, that's great. If you can't, don't worry about it, but it will help you out with some of the things that we're going to do. Okay, so starting off with some of the techniques we want to do. So we want to start with just a traditional elbow. Now what I want you to think about is it's not so much about just doing the elbow, but it's learning how to use your hips and your shoulders and getting everything involved. And so if your belt moves, then your body is involved. If your belt doesn't move when you throw an elbow, then you're probably just striking mostly with your arm. And the whole point of martial arts is to be able to generate a lot of power using your whole body. So if you're not a big person, or you can't protect yourself against a bigger person. So first thing, elbows got to be tucked in nice and tight. That way it makes it hard. If you have some give here, it becomes like a squishy shock. It's not going to do as much damage. So you got to keep it in nice and tight. So the closer to your body you have it, the better. And it's just an extension. So it's not a very far technique. People like to push forward and reach for stuff, and that's not what an elbow is designed to. It's designed to be a close-in technique. So what I want you to do, doesn't matter which leg you have in front, you're just going to have your arm up, and then this hand is going to be what you're going to strike. And what I want you to get used to is, if you look at my back leg, you can see I let it come up a little bit so I can turn my hips and throw my body. And I'm just going to take a little step. And what I want you to do is not concentrate so much on hitting your hand, but concentrate on making your belt and your hips move. So you come and really make that thing move by whipping your hips. Okay? So go ahead and do that a few times. I'm just kind of watch you in the video there while you're doing that. And make sure you take a little step when you do it. Sydney, you're not doing anything. You're just standing there. Come on now. All right. So now again, remember, we're not focusing on your arm. It looks like some of you are more into your arm. It's not about your arm. So forget about your arm for a second. All I want you to do is take a step and just get used to whipping your hip and make that belt move. Okay? How fast can you whip that? It's almost like you're hitting someone with your hip bone. You're like in your L stance, your back stance. You take a small step and you hit them with your hip. Okay? So practice that a few times. And believe it or not, that can be an effective way to hit somebody if you're close in. I'll show you on Mr. Watkins in just a minute.
Well, that sounds real nice right there.
All right. Good. So you kind of get the idea how that works, okay? And again, the other thing about tactical is we want to think, almost anything can be a striking surface or something you can hit with, okay? For example, so I got Mr. Watkins here, and, he was trying to hit me. I was covering up and I was close in, real close, I can turn my body and use my hip and just create some space where I can maybe throw a punch or a kick or something like that. So knowing how to use my hips is just as important as actually throwing a punch. And if you guys ever watched anything on YouTube, and I encourage you to do it, is watch some fights on YouTube, and they're not all pretty like when we spar. It's completely different. There's arms flying everywhere, people rolling around, falling down. Aiden, I'm sure you could talk to your dad, and he could give you all kinds of examples being an officer. It's messy, so you got to be able to use anything that you can. Make sense? Just kind of nod for me there since I got you muted there. Okay? All right. So you get the idea on that one. So we want to go back to our palm strike. Okay? So on your palm strike, we're going to do a quick little cover up. Okay? And then you're going to use those hips. And when you throw that, I want you to think of straightening it out, almost like you're doing a stiff arm. So that way, when you push it through there, you cover, and then you whip those hips, and then the shoulder, and then the arm just follows through. So it's shoulder or hips, shoulder, and then palm strike. Okay, so go ahead and practice that a few times. All right, do this for me. We're going to do it in a progression. So get in your position, okay? Just turn your hip first. Then go hip, shoulder. So you move your hip, then you throw your shoulder like you're trying to bump someone with your shoulder. So it's hip, shoulder, and then arm. So it's 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Ah, cool, we got Carlos joining us. All right, so same concept with the shoulder, okay? I'm close in, okay, I'm covering myself up, okay? From here, I could bump them with my shoulder. I would use my back one, but, you could bump them with your shoulder and create space. So that way I could throw those palm heels and that type of strike, okay? So, on my palm strikes, okay, remember, you're hitting with that hard part. You got to pull your arm back and make it nice and stiff to strike with it. If it's not stiff, then you're not going to have a good surface. And where can I strike? Well, I got the chin, okay? All right, rib area. So right here on the ribs, okay? That type of place. Could you hit them on the hip bone? Yeah, because the way the hips work is when you hit the hips, when the hips move, so does the body. Okay? And so, who knows where I'm at? I could be down low here and, knock the hip to move them back. Okay? So what we want to think about is we got all these different targets. So what I want you to do is, I'm going to have Mr. Watkins stand here. He's going to be your virtual target. And I just want you guys to do a couple of those palm strikes at different angles and just kind of visualize where you would hit him if he was attacking you. I can see a big smile on Ms. Fessler's face. He's like, yeah, I get to hit Mr. Watkins virtually. Woohoo. Okay? So you're just kind of in that position thinking you're covering up.
Knocking her computer off or something like that.
Aiden, you're not doing anything. Get to work. All right, good. So we're gonna keep moving on. So, all right, different technique is take your arm, bring it in tight, bring it up by your head, okay? Hopefully you don't have bad BO, so you won't have to smell that. All right, downward elbow, boom, coming straight down, okay? Notice I keep it really close, all right? None of this stuff, okay? You don't reach for it, you keep it in close, all right? So what do I use that for? This guy comes up, tries to tackle me. All right? So while he's trying to tackle me, what I do? Lift my elbow up, boom, right in the back. Or back of the neck. Okay? So I got all these targets. Here, whatever it might be. So they're very close in, so you kind of come out and then boom, drop your body down. So let's practice that. So you're right here, bring your elbow up, and then when you drop it with your knees. Like a squat. Come up. Okay? And make sure it's nice and tight so it's hard. Again, if you let that arm hang out here, it's not going to make your elbow tight. You want close in so there's not much room between me and my body. Okay? Let me see you guys do a couple. All right, go ahead and stop real quick. Now, this is a problem that a lot of people do with kicks, and it's kind of the same thing with your elbow. If I bring my leg up here, I got all this space. My leg's supposed to be in close when I bring it up to kick, so it's compact. Elbow, same thing. When I bring it up, it needs to be in close, not out here, but it's tucked in. So it'd be really hard for someone to pull it open. That way it can come through and get my close elbows. Okay? All right, so where are we at here? All right, now we want to stay at the elbow, but we want to go for a backward elbow. Okay? Now, on a backward elbow, you can hit with the bone or your tricep, either one. But this is a great technique. Okay? And so what you do is, I'm going to turn sideways. I'm in this position. Okay? You come through, and again, it's nice and tight. Pull it past you, and then bring it across, just like that. Okay? Backward view. Right there. Or you can kind of do it almost like a spin, where you turn and can hit through there. Okay? Now, don't think it as an actual real spin where you're spinning through, but more of just a turn, hit. Okay? So, get used to just bringing it behind you. And again, everything's always close in when you do it. Okay? So let me show you how you'd use that. Okay? So this guy, he throws a punch at me, and I duck under. Okay? From here, tuck it, boom, right there in the head. Okay? Let's say another possible position, okay, is he throws that punch, and I step this way. Okay, can't use this one, but I can come back that way, or you're close in. He comes here. All right, he starts to grab you. You block. Okay, you can go low with the elbow, low for the ribs. You know, that type of thing. All right, so you got the same concept. Stick an elbow in through. You could step around. There's that palm. So again, same movement, whether I go high or low, but everything's tucked in. So you can still work those elbows. If you guys are with me, kind of give me a nod. Okay, good. And so whether you have a brother or sister at home you can practice this with, or your parent, don't hit them, but later on, just kind of get used to, if they come at you or kind of get in close, how you can throw some elbows in there or palms. And there's always a way to get one of those in. Okay? He's all over me, close, nice, all right? Upward elbow. Boom, look at that. Downward elbow, right there on the collarbone. Or upward elbow. Side on right there in the ear, right there on the cheek. Into the ribs. Okay? So there's all those different ones. Or like Miss Fessler, your dad's a wrestler, he wants to go after the legs. Boom, that's where you're coming down on the back while they're trying to get your legs. All right? So you guys with me so far? All right? Good stuff. Give me a thumbs up. So what we want to do is kind of open your mind to all these different targets that are there. Don't think just what we're allowed to do in class during the competition cycle for safety, but tactical is about what you can do anywhere to protect yourself. Because when you get out on the playground, on the street, that type of thing, it doesn't matter where your targets are. Everything's fair game. Make sense? We good? Nod? All right. Super. All right. Cool. Let's see. All right. So we're going to move on and squeeze in some some kicks there. So we're gonna do a inverted side kick. So I'm gonna move the camera here so that way you guys can see me better. And then you might want to have a seat on the floor. All right, your inverted side kick is kind of like your twist kick. If you've seen the video where we talked about being up on one leg and turning your hip over to do a twist kick, well, your inverted side kick, it's kind of the same thing, but you're gonna pull your knee up so your foot's sideways, and then you're gonna push it out with your heel and bring it back. So your inverted side kick, basically, it's like a outside side kick. So instead of chambering this way and side kicking, flipping it over in reverse, bam, throwing my side kick. Then you can do the other leg. Okay, so you want your knee on the outside, kind of like this, and then you just push it out with your heel, push out with your heel. Now, if you don't shape your foot and use your heel, it's not going to work very well. So you got up, up. All right. Cool. So now we can do it from standing. Now that you guys get the idea. And these are cool. These are one of my favorite techniques. All right. So how you do it from here? You're in this position. If you're in the right back stance angle, then you just pick your leg up and come out here. So your knee points that way, and then you invert it. Okay? Same thing the other side. So that's how it works. Come through. All right, so what do you do with this thing? So I got Mr. Watkins back. All right, these inverted side kicks, they're not designed to be high. So you're not going for ribs and anything up here. They're all low, okay? So targets, hip bone's right here. When you kick there, it locks out the hips, everything stops. Just above the knee, okay? Inner thigh, all right? So he takes a step at me. All right, so that's the way he stepped. I can take my inverted side kick and go right on his thigh, and when I straighten his leg out, then his whole body's gonna stop. You'll see his hips go back like this, okay? And then he just dead stops, okay? So if he comes at me a little faster, and I do it a little harder, you get the idea, okay? I'm not gonna do it real hard because it does put pressure on your knee, but you can see once that leg locks out, everything stops, okay? Go a little higher, go for the hip bone, you hit a little higher, does the same thing, okay? He steps with the right leg, I can do the same thing, or if I'm off on the side a little bit, I can go on the inside of his leg, and you see what happens to his base, okay? So those are the different targets you can do. Now, if you have someone with you, you can practice that, or maybe later on with your dad or your parent. Don't hit them hard, because you know they won't play with you anymore, right? So keep that in mind. Unless you don't want them to play with you anymore, then you just hit them hard once and then they go away. I remember when I was in college and I was in a fraternity, and this, all the fraternity guys like to wrestle around and be knuckleheads because we're just big kids. And this one guy didn't want anyone messing with him, so when someone would wrestle with him, he'd either slam them or smack them really hard, and they'd be like, "What's wrong with you?" And he's like, "Don't mess with me. I don't want to be touched." And after a while, nobody ever touched him because they knew he wasn't going to play nice. So anyway, so those are your inverted side kicks, okay? So you have all those different targets, all right? Now, we'll put all this together in just a minute. Let me see. So one other technique I want to show you, okay, is the leg sweep, okay? Now, on a leg sweep, I'm not trying to knock him down. I just want to make him off balance, okay? So before you can do a leg sweep is you got to learn to study your partner and see if they have too much weight on that front leg before you do it. You can't just do it because it looks cool. Because if he's in a back stance and most of his weight is on his back leg and I go to take that leg out, it's not going to do anything, okay? So give you a quick scenario, okay? He throws a punch at me, you know, I block it, and maybe I just push him back, okay? He goes to take a step forward to come back at me, and he puts weight on that front leg, okay? I'm not trying to knock him down, I'm just trying to throw him off balance, okay? So I'm coming, and I'm gonna basically hook my foot around his heel and just pull a little bit, because when I pull, it locks out his leg. So I'm not trying to, it's not like a movies where I'm trying to like pull his leg completely up. It's just a real quick movement, throw him off balance so I can throw a punch or an elbow or something higher up. Same thing, I can do it from either side. So if he has that leg in front, I could come from this way and just pull him off balance, all right? And you can even do it from close in. You know, he's throwing punches at me and trying to protect myself. Boom, boom, boom. Just throw him off balance there. Actually poked him in the face, but he'll be okay. All right? So I just come through and pull that thing. All right? So it's not a takedown. It's just to get him off balance. So do this for me. Take one of your feet and turn it so it's like you're doing a side kick, and just keep it low, and it's got to be nice and tight. So when he's got his foot tight, see, I can't straighten it. So it's kind of like just making a hook with your hand, and then you're just coming behind the leg, right above the heel. If you come up high, he's just going to bend his leg, and it's not going to work. When you come low and hook it, it straightens out their leg, and even if they try to bend, they can't do it. So you got to have that foot tight. So all that foot shaping we do for side kicks and all those things, they serve many purposes. So it's just a quick hook it from there and pull it. And the cool thing is, if they try to get their leg out, you just keep it hooked. He tries to pull his leg back, and I just keep it hooked, and it's real hard. And while he's fighting with his leg, you can throw a strike in there. Okay? So those are really good.
What
So,
if he hooks you?
what's that?
What if you have it in the lock and he like kind of hooks you around?
You really think he's going to get his leg up that high?
I mean,
But now you also got to remember, tactical is most likely you're fighting someone who doesn't have martial art skills, because and the all big theory is martial artists don't pick fights, right? We just defend ourselves to get away, okay? So you got to keep that in mind. And remember, all these things are quick too. You know, none of this stuff is slow. Even though we demonstrate it slow to see it, you know, he's throwing punches at me, throwing punches at me. See, didn't take much. I was all ready to elbow him in the face as soon as he went like this. You could see his head turned sideways and stuck his chin out. He gave me his head turned just like that, just like that. When I threw him off balance, I was ready to crack him right on the chin and let him take a nap. Okay? And then what do? You take off the other way and get yourself safe. All right, so let's put a couple of those things together here. All right? Now you gotta, most of you don't have a partner, so you gotta kind of use your imagination. I got Mr. Watkins here just so you can kind of see some visuals. And then what I encourage you to do is, you know, you wrestle around with your parent later on, and, you know, just nice and slow, where you can kind of play around with some of this stuff. And the way that would look is, you know, he's coming at me kind of slow, and I'm just playing around. Boom, knee in the leg, elbow in the head, reverse. Oh, he blocked that one. Palm heel right in the ribs. You know, boom, knee in the thigh. Get away. Just nice and slow stuff like that, so you get used to it. That way they'll still want to play with you. And if you're playing with your brother or sister, don't start getting mad at each other and hit each other harder. Okay? It won't be fun anymore. Alrighty? So, let's just practice that a little bit. So follow me. I can see Carlos's dad is like, yeah, I'm already get to attack him. See, Carlos's dad can hit him harder because he's a doctor, so he'll just put him back together again and hit him again. So, all right, so here we go. Go with me a little bit. So you're thinking, I'm coming at you with these wild punches, because nobody comes at you with these nice, straight, pretty things. And you cover up first. Okay, you kind of bend your knees and get low so you got good stability. Elbows are tucked in, so that way if you get knocked sideways, you're not going anywhere. The more you stand up straight, the more you're going to fly. Okay? I'm not a big guy, and Mr. Watkins is swatting at me, and I'm standing up straight, and swatting at me hard, and there I go. Didn't take much. I get low, stand my ground a little better, and then as you're blocking, you're kind of tucking those arms out a little bit. That way you're able to protect yourself better. And then when you see a little opening, maybe you throw a knee or a palm strike. If they come at you close, you throw an elbow in there. Aiden, what you doing over there? You trying to escape? Coming for you. All right. And remember, we're recording this, so we'll put it on YouTube and send you a link so you can watch it again. Okay? So you just got those small movements, knees low. If they get some space, you got your inverted side kick or your leg sweep. You know, you got your palm strikes, covers up, that type of thing. Okay? All right. Go ahead and take a break there for a second. Now, another thing you want to think about is when somebody throws techniques at you hard and you block, it's going to hurt them a lot. And the reason why is, think about it. Let me take this off for a second. Is, you know, you got a lot of bone, especially right here in the front. And when he throws, say, one of those punches and I cover up, I'm taking that bone and I'm hitting the nerves right on the outside of his arm there. If you make a fist, you'll kind of see the muscles, and right in the middle there, you can take your thumb and stick it in there and put the tip of your thumb and squeeze it in there. You can do the same thing on the outside here. And if you're doing it right, it should hurt. And so you can imagine if somebody's throwing those punches at you and you're sticking your forearm and hitting them, remember we got a nerve right there too, and you're just doing that back and forth, covering up, it's going to slow down their strikes fairly soon. And statistically, most people don't ever kick anyway because nobody knows how. Or if they do, it's like a soccer ball, you know, where they... You know, I'm sure if you've seen some of your friends try to do a kick who've never done martial arts, or maybe when we visited PE classes, you know, Mr. Watkins came and did PE classes at your school, and some of your friends are kicking like this, like a soccer ball. You know, those things are really easy to block, obviously, because they're not done correctly. So when you're covering up and doing those things, it's going to put a lot of pain on their arms, which means they're going to slow down hitting you, and that's when you start opening up those targets, you know, and give you the anatomy of Mr. Watkins if he attacked you. Okay, good places to strike. Obviously, anywhere in the face. Okay, anywhere in the face is going to hurt. That old rumor of you hit someone in the nose and it pushes their bone into their brain, that's not true. There's no bone in your nose, it's just cartilage. That's not going to work. But it will hurt. You hit someone in the nose, their eyes water, and it's hard for them to focus. Good time to run away. But you got behind the ear, anywhere on the cheekbone there, anywhere on the cheek, you know, right there in the temples. You know, that feels good. Obviously, you know, life or death, you can poke somebody in the eye. Most likely anyone's going to let go of you if you poke them in the eye, and then you can escape. Then side of the neck. If you hit someone in the front of the neck, you could severely hurt them. So unless you feel like someone's about to kill you, I would stay away from that target because that's really dangerous. Okay, just so you know about that one. And then the collarbone right here. You guys feel that bone right there? Doesn't take much to break that, and when that breaks, the arm's not any good. So if you hammer fist someone there, that arm's pretty much done. So that's a good way to get away. And then, of course, you got solar plexus right there, anywhere up here on the sternum. Then you got ribs. What about the armpit? Think that'd be a good place to hit somebody? Yeah, that's a good place. Punch them right in there. Okay, that's real sensitive. And then you got ribs, of course, solar plexus. Now you got hip bones. You got nerves on the outside, inside of the leg, top of the thigh. You know, kneeing them on top of the thigh. I'm sure you guys have banged your leg into something, and you're like, oh, you know. So that's a good place. And then as we work down, same thing. I wouldn't kick someone in the knee unless you're trying to save your life, because if you hit someone in the knee, you could severely hurt them forever. So you got to kind of keep in mind what you're going to do. And of course, talked about taking out the leg for a sweep. And then top of the foot is a nice sensitive spot. Shoes don't have much padding, so if you had to, you could stick your heel on there, and then it works good if you twist. Right on that one, especially if you have bare feet. So that's a good one. Of course, toes is a possibility. So there's targets all over the place that you can get when you're covering up. So I'm going to unmute you guys here as we finish up, or Mr. Watkins might, because he knows how to use this better than I do.
There we go. Should be good now.
All right, I can heal all your monsters. Alrighty, so let's do a quick review before we leave. So, who are you going to practice with after this class?
I need a person. Please.
No, not like right this second, but like who are you going to practice with?
Please, let me beat you up right now. Stay 50 quarantine. You know what to do. Okay. Now you got.
So,
Okay.
parent,
Yeah.
brother, sister, right? Okay. Don't practice with your sibling if you guys are going to fight. So like petticoats, you probably should wrestle with your dad, not each other, because we know where that's going.
You know what? If you're
Okay.
recording this lesson, then can somebody just take a screenshot of her little? Yeah, that's just really cute. Actually.
All right. So let me ask you some questions, and
In general.
you got to put your hand up, and then I'll call on you. So make sure you learn something here before we go. Otherwise, if you all talk at the same time, it'll sound like. You guys ever see any of the Snoopy, Charlie Brown cartoons?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'm not too old yet. You know, and the teacher's always like, wah, 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 wah. So if you guys all talk at the same time, that's what it'll sound like. Okay?
They speak
All right,
the
so
same language.
tell me a couple hand techniques that you could use. Who could tell me one? Raise your hand. All right, Xavier.
The downward elbow.
Right, good. All right, where would you hit someone with the downward elbow?
Back of the neck. Or
You. Okay. I was going to let someone else answer, but yep, back of the neck, back. All right, what's another hand technique? All right, Jeremy? All right, backward elbow, good. Where could you hit someone with that? Anywhere on the head? Okay. You guys, I don't know if you guys saw it. Carlos's dad was practicing on Carlos's head. Okay. Give me another hand technique. Anybody? Bueller? All right, Fessler.
the palm heel.
Okay. Where would you hit someone with that?
Round through chest, I think.
Okay.
Somewhere
Up here.
around chest.
All right. Where else?
Yes.
Ribs,
Hots. Hits the cheeks.
chin, and cheekbones. Good. All right. Someone tell me one of the kicks we did today.
Inverted side kick.
Yeah, and raise your hand. Chino, 10 push-ups right now. All right. So inverted side kick. So someone else, where could you hit him with that?
You hit him in the
So
leg.
you gotta raise your hand, Will. All right.
Hit him in the leg.
Okay, where in the leg?
Area to stop him when you're charging at you.
Okay, so front of the leg, insides of the leg. Remember? Inside, outside, front, hips. Good. Okay, and then what was the other leg technique we did? Give you a hint. All right, Carlos. You remember? What was it, Carlos?
You've officially been forced into.
What do you call it? Give you a hint. Broom.
Leg sweep.
The leg sweep. Right.
Oh, that's what you were doing. Okay.
Yeah. Broom.
You look up with
You spoiled children. Have you guys never used a broom before? All right. Now, let me say this, just disclaimer here, is now a lot of the things I showed you would work very well and could hurt someone. So remember, we can't use things under anger. We can only use them under self-defense. That's why some of this stuff we teach black belts as opposed to lower ranks. Make sense?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, it's kind of like the Force, you know, the dark side, good side. Are you going to use it for cause trouble, or are you going to use it to, you know, protect yourself? So, like those of you who have brothers and sisters, you know, you can't get mad at them, and next thing you know, you're leg sweeping them or inverted side kicking them in the leg or that type of thing. Make sense? Or TJ, you can't get mad at your mom and elbow her in the head. Alrighty, you guys with me? However, we do want you guys to know, you know, how these things work, and we want to know what works in the real world as opposed to what's going to work in the classroom. Because I'm telling you, people in the real world don't do these nice, pretty punches, and you're not doing these nice, pretty low blocks. Those things are important because you learn how to use your body, but things got to be modified, kind of like an outer form block. You know, you saw when Mr. Watkins was attacking me, you know, I had to kind of modify it in just little movements as opposed to, you know, being all straight up like this. It's just a different way. Okay?
But this is definitely useful stuff to know, you know?
All right, so give yourself 2 claps. All right, great job. Again, I'll put this on YouTube, and I'll send out a link, so if you guys want to watch parts of it again, you can. And then remember, June is a black belt testing. Children, petticords, stop. All right, June is a testing month for black belts, so a lot of you guys can be eligible, but you got to make sure you're watching the lessons over this next cycle. You can, because even if you watch them, if nobody tells us and we're not back to being on the mat, then it's kind of hard to say, yeah, go ahead and test. Okay, and everything, if we're still not back on the mat, which I think we will be certainly by June, hopefully, but your belts can be mailed to you, all that kind of cool stuff. Tiger Rock's going to tell us if the world tournament's still going to happen, and if those of you who are getting a level where you have to pre-test for 4th degree, they're supposed to talk with us about that on Saturday too. So we'll have answers.
Sparring matches are going to be interesting. I'm not sure what we're going to do for that, but we do world tournaments online. I'm not sure what they're going to do.
I think they would reschedule it, but we got some time because that's not till July. So,
Imagine doing actual sparring online. That would be interesting. Just imagine that. That would be weird.
Yeah, hook you up to little sensors like in a Nintendo game or something.
Master Phantom,
Do
I have a
like
question.
VR or something? Wait, imagine if they did it like VR.
All right, what's your question, Riley?
Has my belt like come into the studio yet at all? Like, have they mailed it to you?
Not yet. Well, we were usually when you rank up, we order them and then we send them to, or we do it at like a belt ceremony, and then all this came. So, but we'll get you squared away. Okay. All right. Well, you guys have a great day. I enjoyed it, and we will be back on the virtual mat on Monday. So look for that lessons on Monday. See you guys later.
Okay.